Shalom Fam, Solo Soul here, also known as Coach Arthur. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And to my returning family, thank you again for tuning in. Fam, if you are looking to repatriate or just travel to East Africa, Tanzania, go ahead and reach out to Brother Claude and Sister Maria. They can help you step by step. Welcome back, fam. So in this video, hopefully me and some others will convince you and just point out some major things and reasons why Africa is the move and has always been the move. So whichever country you plan to move to or even visit, just understand you add value every time you visit any African country. So I hope that this video re-energizes and, do some type of motivating for some of my followers who want to visit East Africa and some of my followers who want to move or repatriate to East Africa. Listen, you see me try to, do my little video underneath one of the papaya trees that we have here. But either way, fam, Africa is the move. The West tried to convince us that Africa is not the move, and we can see why now. Like, if you've traveled to any African country and you've seen some of the developing countries, you see the potential, and some investors have seen even, some turnover from their investment or return in their investments. Africa is a move, has always been a move, and will be the move for the future. So you either get on or you get left behind. So listen up, fam.
African propaganda, and this is what the West wants you to think about the continent. But here's the real Africa: safe cities, gorgeous homes, rapidly growing income, and food that is actually healthy to eat. And the question is, why does the West engage in this anti-African propaganda? And that's what I want to talk about. The first reason is money laundering. Most of the charity the West gives to Africa is routed to some not very good people, and they want you guys to keep giving. And I'm sure some good work has been done by these charities, but I've never met an African who received the Save the Children money. And second is, the West wants to exploit the continent for its resources. But to do that, politicians need the Western voters to turn a blind eye. And if the voters think of Africans as a group of people living in trees and mud huts, they won't feel as bad. But lastly, and this is my own personal opinion, I believe the West exploits their own people. Families in the West struggle to make ends meet. Most can't afford to buy houses or have children. But if people in the Western world discovered that a lot of Africans are living better lives than they are, it might not be so good for the people in power. You know what happens to every Westerner who comes to the continent for the first time? It's like they have the same cognitive dissonance, because what they see on the ground in Africa is so different from the image the West put in there.
Now, fam, how long are we going to allow the West to play this mental game with us? Mental manipulation. They can draw so much from the continent, but they don't want the very people who descend from that country or those countries in Africa to even go back to build something. Even if you go back and build a mud hut community and you say, hey, we're going to vacation to that mud hut community once a year. Why not invest in a land that is so fruitful? I know it's a lot of things going on in different countries. Yes, sometimes the government don't seem too stable in certain countries. But look at a government, or look at a country's government that has consistently allowed investors to come in and build and draw from the country. It's so many. It's too many to name at this point. So, fam, just think about it. Why do people even invest in certain countries outside of the U.S. or outside of the West in general? Because it's something there. It's some natural resource that's going to fuel other economies. So why not move to the very place where those resources are coming from, and you can also draw from that country and also give back to the country, create jobs, So either way, fam.
Africa has 54 markets. We're looking at Africa only. In 7 years, Africa will be home to a third of the global population of youth. By 2050, 1 out of every 5 customers on the internet will be in Africa. Africa in the past decade has, out of the top 10 countries with the fastest growing GDP, 5 of those markets are in Africa. Retail spend in 2018 was about $1.4 trillion. 2/3 of that was consumer packaged goods. And it's considered one of the fastest growing regions for consumer packaged goods spending in the world. On top of that, when it comes to profitability margins, it's the most profitable region, bar none, to East Asia.
So this is when you drop the mic.
Yeah.
That was, she knows her stuff.
All right, fam, that was beautifully done. So let's just talk about Tanzania's government, or Tanzania's economy, excuse me. Tanzania's economy is projected to grow from 6% to 6.4% in the next year, outperforming most East African countries when it comes to growth. Tanzania's government is actively promoting their expanding their export processing zones. So that's agro processing, building materials, and pharmaceuticals. That opens up the doors for more investors to come in and step into these sectors to assist and also help grow the country, grow the economy, provide jobs, and also set up things that could bring in you some income in another country. So think about this: why not go back to a African country to set up something while the economy is growing before these other nations come in and set it up for us, and then we come in after, trying to get our foot in the door when everything is already growing and grown and, very established. Like, let's not be the tail, let's be the head. The Most High has that for us. So why are we waiting? I mean, to hear some of these discussions that people have, on their channels and on their podcasts, and they say, I don't recommend anybody moving to Africa or no African country, or, that's because y'all guys want to come in when everything is already set up. You want somebody to set the table for you instead of setting your own table. So that's the problem with some of you people. You want everything to be laid out for you before you get there. And that's okay. That's okay to want everything to be laid out. But for our builders and for the people really who want to be those ground shakers and who want to really be the ones who establish certain things, it's good for you to get ahead. So for my go-getters, and not, we ain't talking about the scammers and the schemers. We ain't talking about y'all. We talking about the people who genuinely want to come and help people in the country, help the local people grow, and also just help, you know, generations of people in that country, establish something that's going to be long lasting with decent hearted people. Why let these other nations come in and treat people badly as they make millions and they send it back to their country? So, either way, fam, the last thing is tourism and real estate. Tourism and real estate is really a big sector for Tanzania right now. If you want to build a hotel, or if you want to build a lodge, or if you want to build some type of resort situation, it is very open for you to do that right now. And there's people doing it. So it's time, fam. So, fam, let's end with this for me. I'm gonna just end on this note. If you want to move to an African country and you don't have employment, you have to get that first. Also, it's not a bad thing that you go and you don't have the best income, because the cost of living is so cheap. The cost of living is so low compared to the West now. I'm not saying you don't need any money, because you really do. It's another reason why we back in the West, because we needed to come back to earn a decent wage so that we can continue to build. Even that's still a struggle here, because so many bills here in the West. Like, every time you turn around, you got to build. So the best thing for you to do is, establish your income, your investments. I know some of you are retired and you have income. That's the best thing. I stand true to this. You can purchase land in East Africa right now at this present time, underneath your company that you establish, and you can purchase it pretty cheap. So, between 100 and 200 if you go into the village. Sometimes you might have to pay three because they get a little greedy. But if you want to be in a more developed area, just be prepared to pay a little bit more per acre.
As I said, the owners were European, so they had already gone through the formal process of registering the land and surveying the land. So when it was time for us to buy, all the paperwork was already on record, so we were able to register relatively easily in our names.
All right, Shalom Fam. I just want to clarify what she meant by the previous owners, like already having the land registered. So when she purchased the land, the European owners that she purchased the land from, they had already registered the land with the land ministry. So they had probably already had a property deed from the government. So when you buy land in Tanzania, you can buy it from the village owner, and then that village owner will most likely know a surveyor that can survey the land, or you can go to the land ministry and get your own surveyor, and then that surveyor will mark the boundaries of your land, and that surveyor will go and register the land with the land ministry. Then you, your company, will be able to lease the land from the government to like create a deed or get a deed in your company?
So Zanzibar has a very booming real estate sector now. So over time, you've seen the cost of, especially rental, they have gone up. I don't live here in the village. I live in Jambiani, and a rent for like a 3-bedroom house is around $600 a month. They quote prices in USD. Food costs can be very low if you don't buy imported stuff. So if you stick to local produce, local rice, etc., your food costs are actually very reasonable. Electricity is not so bad, but we do have a lot of power cuts.
You don't have to deal with that. I think God blessed me enough to be smart enough and work hard enough to have options. And so when you look at what's going on in the United States, what has been going on in the United States, from all the craziness that's been going on for a long time to the newer level of craziness and foolishness that's going on, you're going to say, I don't have to deal with that. I have options. Find a place that you can afford, number one. But number two, it's set in stone. You don't have to worry about it changing at all. The best way to do that is buy a home. It is my recommendation. Do not rent at all. Buy a home. Once you get established, once you learn you can rent as you learn and get your information due diligence, but your ultimate goal is to buy a home. Why not?
Is now located in East Africa. We once owned a cozy family-run cafe, and we have taken our cafe across the globe and ventured to new heights. Join us as we take you along on our journey through the Motherland on the East African coast. Together, we will explore historical monuments, museums, and tucked away dreamlands, featuring Claude and Maria farms, sustainable living, and edible food forests.